All right, going live.
It is live.
Oh my god, that is amazing!
I found it entertaining that my odometer kicked over to 33,333.
That is very entertaining.
Yeah, I saw that come up and I'm like, shit, I got to pull over and photograph this.
Yeah, you looked at just the right moment.
What's that?
You looked at just the right moment.
I did actually. What was really funny was I actually kind of paid attention because when I pulled in to get gas, it was at 33,300 even. Perfect. Even. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to roll this over, and I know how many kilometers it is till I get home, so I will be pulling off the side of the highway somewhere down the road. I really wanted to capture that, just because 333,333 kilometers is quite a bit.
Yeah, it is.
33, 33, 33. There you go.
So
33, that's a magic number.
There we go.
So I was hanging out with the chickens this morning.
What are they doing?
All 3 chickens of the apocalypse are molting.
Yeah, they look like they look pretty sad sacky right now.
They really do. The one especially, I think it's Gwendol.
Yeah, well.
I think Gwendol, the biggest of the 3, oh my goodness, she looks so sad right now. She looks just miserable. You can see her pretty new feathers coming in along her neck.
Yeah.
So I can tell it's molting.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, oh my gosh, I want to like wrap her up and put her in something fuzzy, but I know that's not a good idea.
No, just let them molt. Nothing we can do for it. It's the feathers fall out, and it's really kind of sad for them.
Actually, good thing for anyone who may be newer to having chickens. I just figured this out or learned this myself through my own research. There are these things, or chicken sweaters that are sold for when they're molting. It's actually really bad for them because their pin feathers are really sensitive as they're growing back in.
Yeah.
So you are essentially putting a straitjacket with sharp things on the inside against them.
Yeah.
When you put a sweater on them.
I figure Mother Nature didn't give them sweaters to wear when they're molting. Why should we?
Yeah, don't do it. It seems like it would be kind, but it's not kind.
Yeah. Well, we humans always think, oh, they need to be wrapped up in something warm like we do. No, we have no feathers. We got skin.
We got no feathers, no fur, just bad.
Animals don't need the things that we use. I'm sorry. Yeah, I saw them there before I left, and I thought, yeah, they're looking kind of sad. Looking kind of sad, sacky.
They really are.
They'll survive, though. They'll survive. They'll come through. They'll look all pretty. Maybe they'll start laying eggs again once they stop molting.
You remember how at the end of summer when Stripe was looking kind of ragged?
Yep, she molted then.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that she molted then, but she had what's called a soft molt, because a soft molt is they have a lot less feathers and they grow in new feathers. But then a hard molt is what Gwendol's going through right now, where she's kind of half naked.
So you actually went and researched it then, did you?
I did. I researched a bunch to make sure.
I hadn't got around to researching the molting on the chickens. I'd see it and I go, I should look that up, and then I'd promptly forget.
Someone has reached out to me saying you may as well not be talking with how soft you're coming across.
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, that's because I'm not talking at my full volume yet. It's still early in the
That's what I thought.
early.
Okay.
I'm just warming up the voice, folks. Wah! How's this? How about if I pick my voice up and start actually talking? Do I sound like I'm coming through nice and clear right now? And then I'll go back to my nice soft thing to warm me up before we get to the show.
You gotta find like a middle ground, man. Middle ground, where our listeners can hear you at the beginning, but where you don't make me go deaf.
Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Middle ground. It exists. You just gotta find it.
Sure. It's somewhere out there. Somewhere out there in the abyss of the world. It's all whatever. We'll just blame it on this.
Glitch.
There you go.
Yeah, I heard that one.
I gotta go clean all this stuff up. Sooner or later, I'll make the time to do that. But I've been so busy. We got a bunch of work coming our way, and I've had to prepare up and write estimates and answer emails. All of the stuff that's no fun in a business.
Yep.
The business part of business, it's never fun. But it has
Not
to be.
really. The actual projects are a lot of fun, but then all the paperwork and other things are not fun.
Yeah, well, that's the whole problem of having a business. You gotta do that until you have enough money to hire people to do it all for you. Let's see, what else do we got? Well, we covered chickens. That took a whole 2 minutes. As we chew through the time here for us, till we get close enough to where we kick into music. What else do we got? We've already
I almost
given.
broke my fingers trying to reset the rat traps yesterday.
Oh, you gotta be careful with the rat traps. Did you catch
Yep.
anything?
Rat and a mouse.
Good. They seem to be
We've added.
They seem to be coming in there. We caught 5 of them this week.
Yep.
Remember
I
that?
think they're being drawn out because of the tasty chicken stuff that's kicking around at this time of year.
No, it's not that. They're
No?
they're heading into the woodshed to get away from the cold and the wet because it's nice and
Ah.
dry in there.
Cat's not doing his job, man.
No, not effectively.
Mhm.
Not effectively. Someone stole a rat trap.
Really?
Yeah, when I went to set them the other day, there was only 2 because I usually have 3 there. And there was only 2, and that's the second time. And usually what it means is some animal came along, something was caught in it, and some animal came along and snagged it and took it, trap and all. I've had it happen a few times. I did find one trap one time with a half-eaten body in it.
Oh dear.
Up the side yard, I found a half-eaten body in a trap, and I was like, "Oh, there's where you went. I wondered what happened to you." Yeah, some other animal comes along and goes, "Oh, free lunch. Oh, it's stuck to this. Just take it along." And it eats it up, and it leaves the trap wherever it left the trap. So, unfortunately, they don't always leave the traps in the yard for me to find them.
No, that would be too much effort.
I know. It's always a bit of a drag. Welcome, everyone. I see we've got 4 listeners. All right. Well, it shows we got 4 people here.
Hopefully it's the truth. You know, it's not just counting me, you, and your alter ego, and then an imaginary person.
It never counts me. I'm never counted because I'm in the God mode. I'm in the God mode area, so I'm not counted. So, but anyway, just folks, this is the pre-stream. We're getting closer and closer to the music for the show. It's almost showtime. So we're babbling about whatever comes to mind, such as rats and mice. And capturing them and feeding them peanut butter.
And chickens going through molting.
It reminds me, I got to find another old rotten jar of peanut butter that's aged because the one I've been using for the last year and a half is almost empty.
Yeah, it's funny how peanut butter is actually the best thing to bait traps with.
Old peanut butter.
Specifically old peanut butter?
Well, that's best because it's stinky, it's smelly. It brings them in. And for some reason, rats love that stuff. Hard part is making sure it's properly put on the trap because I've had them a few times eat it off the trap. Peanut butter's gone and trap's not tripped. And I was like, damn, I didn't do a good job that time. All right. It's music time. Let's get this show on the road.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
There we go. Shall we get going?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress Plugins A to Z, not Z.
It's episode 615, and we have plugins for importing or exporting, just disabling it all, and WordPress news, all coming up on WordPress Plugins from A to Z. WordPress. It's the most popular content management and website solution on the internet. And with over 80,000 plugins to choose from, how do you separate the junk from the gems? Join us for a weekly, unrehearsed conversation about the latest and greatest in WordPress plugins. This is WordPress Plugins from A to Z. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Coming to you guys direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and with me is the ever lovely
Number overall.
And we've got the usual great show for you today. You know, go back and tune in for the intro to the show. For those that don't go to the YouTubes, you know, we had a great talk about chickens and all kinds of other wonderful stuff. But you know what? I really don't have all that much. I need to work on my intros.
Thank you for sharing, John. Now get down from that soapbox.
Welcome to episode 615, leaning into WordPress plugins. We've got a couple of great in-depth plugins to cover for you, some recent news in both the WordPress world and the tech world in general, and some awesome WordPress tips. Hoping everyone out there is dealing with the rain that this time of year keeps shoving at us and that you're staying warm and dry. We have started taking our own tinctures and vitamin regimens here. Hopefully other people are doing the same thing. It turns out my older human in training really doesn't like the echinacea tincture. She actually is still complaining about it over a week later. Kind of entertaining. But, you know, when things don't taste good, you know they're working. Also, it's so much fun. That one particular look that only a disgusted teenager can give. It's just so much fun to cause that. So we have a few reminders before we start the show today. A heads up for those who missed the announcement last show, we will be continuing on with the show as going on every other week. We figured we should just go with it rather than canceling the show every other week. The universe has made it clear we're only every other week until further notice. So, our next show will be on November 27th, 2023. And remember, the show starts at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, with the pre-stream starting about 12:15 p.m. Pacific time. Pre-stream is where we twiddle with the dials and knobs and really just warm up our voices, so you can join us for some entertainment value. Our show notes for each episode can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. The newest show notes will be up within 24 hours and on our front page. And don't forget, this is a value for value show and that you are a big part of its creation. You are our producers. We need you to help us to produce. So get on out there, hit some like buttons, share an episode or two. and let people know that you helped to produce the longest running WordPress Plugins podcast. That's it for reminders. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the show for some possibly life-altering advice. You never know. Our artist today is Jay Saliba. So I don't know if anyone else really sees this when they look at this beautiful Leaning Tower of Pisa. I'm pretty sure it's what it is.
That's what it is. It's Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Okay. So every time I look at this, all I can see is a giant marble going down it, like part of the Duplo sets that everyone plays with when they're kids.
Okay.
That's all I see every time I look at it.
Well, you know, I just thought it was cool.
It is cool. And I'm still amazed that the thing is still standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was there ever an explanation as to why it was leaning?
I think there's lots of explanations, but none of them are valid. Something about the foundation slipped and whatever. And for some reason, it's still staying upright. Which, who knows? Who knows what it is? Oh, well, that's enough of that one. We may as well just wander on.
Please, can everybody be quiet? Please be quiet. Shut up! And now the news with Amber.
So first up this week, we have WordPress Vulnerability Report for November 8th. It was updated on November 9th. So of the 109 security vulnerabilities publicly disclosed in WordPress plugins, 79 patches have been made available. So be sure to run those as soon as possible. There are still, as of November 9th, 30 vulnerabilities with no patch. Be sure to check this list against your and your client's sites to see what needs help and what has a patch available. The ones that I most easily recognize are Login Screen Manager, WP Bitly, Social Feed All Social Media in One Place, Ninja Forms Contact Form, the drag and drop form builder for WordPress, AI Chatbot, and Event Prime Events Calendar Bookings and Tickets.
Yeah, well, there's also GiveWP, which a lot of people use. So you want to look into that one too if you used it on any of your sites or client sites. It was very popular.
And
I used it many times years ago.
okay. Yeah, go through, follow the link in our show notes, go through the list, compare, be aware.
Yep.
And then the next one we have here is the WordPress Vulnerability Report from PatchStack. As I mentioned before, we're just keeping this here as a really good place to go and look to see more variety of what's going on. You get a much more comprehensive list here, but it's not quite as easily understandable as the WordPress Vulnerability Report from Solid WP. So it's a really good one. It gives you different options, all things from WordPress or plugins or themes. It's really great and very useful.
Yep.
Next, we have WordPress 6.4.1 fixes a critical CURL request bug.
Curl.
Curl?
It's called curl.
Okay. I'm not actually entirely sure what that is, honestly.
I have a vague understanding of it. I learned it once and then promptly flushed the information.
Okay.
But it's to allow for SSL connections, loop back information on the site. It's very important when you're setting up for payment processors because they use curl to make their SSL connections and such. The interesting thing about this, when I read through this article, was that it has to do more with older hosting providers who haven't updated the curl on their servers.
Okay.
So it is a critical. I found it quite entertaining because this came out like 3-4 days after WordPress was released. So let that be a lesson to you folks. Why you don't upgrade immediately.
No, wait until like the point 3 edition. By then, most of the major bugs have been fixed.
0.2, 0.3, that's when they get around to fixing all the major bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was a critical one because it was within minutes of people updating, they were making complaints that they weren't being able to make their connections. It was very interesting.
Okay, so the next thing we have here, sorry, my mind wandered off for a moment there.
That's
Okay, though, I captured it again. We got back on target.
Okay.
The next thing we have here is WordPress contributors target upcoming 6.5 release for merging performant translations into core. So earlier this year, there was a test to see how much the translations was actually slowing things down. And they figured out that they wouldn't be able to put it into this most recent release to have auto translations in the core, but they're figuring out a way to make it so that they can have translations in the core and not slow down the site. So they're not sure, they haven't quite got it working perfect yet, but they are working on it. And I thought this might be very interesting and good news for people who use a lot of translations, because I have seen on some sites where people have these additions of translations and they've got to update that and it slows down their entire site here and there. But the translation thing is very cool. Hopefully they managed to figure it out.
Yep, that would be useful.
Next up, we have WooCommerce rebrands to Woo. This is a good thing for people to be aware of. The name we have all come to know so well is rebranding to the shorter version of their name. The rebranding extends to Woo Marketplace, Woo Experts Program, and all other aspects of the Woo experience. It also includes a migration of WooCommerce.com to the Woo.com domain.
Woo, woo, woo!
So, for those of us who use Woo, be aware of this change so you're not taken by surprise.
Yeah, well, I'm slow to change, so I'll still call it WooCommerce for a long time.
I mean, I still call the downtown shopping center Eaton Center half the time. It's you learn something by a certain name, and it just kind of sticks.
I do that too, and people look at me like, Eaton who?
Yeah.
And I go, oh yeah, that's right. It's changed about 20 years ago now.
About that, but you know, if you don't go somewhere very often.
Yep. The Eatons no longer exist, so anyway.
No. Next up, we have Newspack Plugin Update Checker lets users update from GitHub. So I think this is actually really awesome. A fellow named Adam Schweigert has released a plugin called Newspack Plugin Update Checker that enables self-hosted Newspack users to keep their plugins up to date. I thought this was interesting because keeping your plugins up to date directly from GitHub is a new thing that I haven't read about yet, but I have noticed that a lot of developers are migrating more and more to GitHub to where they will give the answers and the patches and all kinds of things. So I'm kind of thinking that GitHub may turn into one of the places for people to go and get plugins in the future in general. GitHub has been expanding a lot in what they are able to provide people with. It's quite an interesting and dynamic platform now.
Yeah. Well, GitHub always has been pretty good.
They've always been really good, but the fact that the developers are now actually placing so many things on GitHub and people have to go specifically to GitHub to get these things, I found that very interesting.
Yep.
Next up, WordPress 2024 roadmap, 3 major releases with a focus on collaboration features. There has been a proposed schedule for 2024 released by WordPress Executive Director Josepha Hayden Chombozi. My God, it's hard to pronounce names properly. So much easier in the head because it doesn't really matter in your head.
Yeah.
No dates have been chiseled out into the stoneworks as of yet, but they have been planning to avoid major holidays and WordPress events.
Oh, good.
The first release of the year is planned for March 26th, followed by 6.6 in July and 6.7 in early November. So if you want to read more about this, you can follow the link in our show notes. And last for today is a bit of good news for all the security experts out there. WordFence has launched a bug bounty program. So they released this bug bounty program on November 9th as a way to provide a financial incentive for security researchers reporting high-risk vulnerabilities to the company's program. There is no cap on the rewards an individual researcher can earn, and every single in-scope vulnerability received through the submissions process will earn a reward bounty. A few examples of payouts are 1,600 for an unauthenticated arbitrary file upload, a remote code execution, a privilege escalation to admin, or an arbitrary options update in a plugin theme with over 1 million active installations. Now, I'm not sure if they're saying that in order to get that 1,600, you have to have found a problem in something that has over 1 million active installations.
Something like that.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. So, like, it has to be something wrong in something that is really well used, really, really popular.
Yeah.
1,060 for unauthenticated arbitrary file deletion in a plugin or theme. So there's it just goes down the list, telling you what's worth 800, what's worth 320, and what's worth 80. These are just examples, but if you are pretty decent in the security world, you might be able to make some extra cash just by going and finding out some bugs. And then we've got our extras. We've got some stuff from WordFence, Jetpack, Musk, and German satellite information. All kinds of cool stuff to check out there.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's talk about plugins. Plugins. Okay, first one I've got out the door for you here is called Just Disable It. This is a very simple, straightforward plugin for helping you clean up your WordPress website, turn off some unneeded functions, all kinds of useless junk that is there in your site that you don't need. Most people don't need. Some people need these things, but not always. All you got to do is install it, go to the configuration page on it, and what you can turn off the XML RPC, turn off the REST API, turn off the WordPress core generated sitemaps. Now, granted, this is there because in case you don't get smart when you first install and you install like Yoast or, I can't remember the other one right now. There's two primary SEO plugins.
RankMath?
What's that?
RankMath?
Yeah, RankMath. Thank you. RankMath. If you don't install and activate those are automatically supposed to turn off the sitemaps, but it's always a good thing to have another option that it gets turned off to, just so it's out of the way. The RSS feeds. Now, you might want your RSS feeds if you want people to pick up all of your stuff via RSS reader, or if you're running a podcast, you definitely need your RSS feeds. But if you're just running a basic website, maybe it's a simple portrayal site, anyway, a simple site, then you want to turn off the RSS feeds, and because that can actually help the site run faster and also prevent bots from attacking your site via the RSS feeds. Turn off the comments site-wide. You can turn off the front-end search. You can turn off the author archives, and you do want to turn these off. Nobody needs these. Turn off the author archives, the attachment pages, the 404 guessing, the emoji scripts, the source sets that are WordPress core generated, the WordPress branding. You might want to turn that off on your site too. And you can disable selected admin sidebar menus. And what it means by that is those sidebar menus that are put in by different plugins and other things, maybe you just don't need those, you don't use them, you can just turn off those admin sidebar menus so that they're not loaded whenever you go into the admin. So on the whole, very fantastic plugin, very easy to use. It helps you clean up your site, speed up your site in some aspects. Very useful, and it's a freebie, and it works beautifully. So go check it out. It is Just Disable It, and I give it a 5 dragon rating.
Nice. Tell me when the sound happens.
Okay.
So some WordPress tips. We would love to hear some tidbit tips from some of our producers out there. What did you figure out by breaking something? Or what did you need to learn in order to help someone else who broke something? You can send these tidbits in to me at amber@wppro.ca. And they don't have to be something that you learned from breaking or fixing something broken. It could also just be like, what have you realized over time? Any kind of advice is really useful. So for making sites, This one is a little less about actual creation, more about how sometimes finding life getting in the way of completing something for a client. So don't try to bullshit your client. Just tell them the truth. Your parent is in the hospital, or you caught a devastating illness from your human in training and you just can't do anything for a couple days, or whatever it is that's going on. Don't try to bullshit them and say, yeah, I'm working on it, no problem. Just tell them the truth. If you try to bullshit them, they are going to catch on. And if you tell them the actual truth, well, they're human and they've probably had life throw a few things their way where they couldn't do anything too. So they'll be a lot more likely to offer patience and understanding if you give them the truth. If your client gets frustrated and fires you for being human, well, that might be a blessing in disguise, honestly, because what would have happened if you wound up in the hospital after a crash or something? Would they expect you to get their stuff done then as well? Being human is part of the reason why you were hired. But if they can't accept that you're human for both the worst and the best aspects of being human, then it's probably not going to work out in the long term anyway. Not every client is going to make or break you. Losing some in order to keep your own health and sanity, not the worst thing in the world. And then beginner's tips. When we take that first step into the working world, I'm talking about like when we're teenagers, we all try to make sure that everyone likes us, that we don't screw up, that we do everything right the first time. And then we all find out pretty fast that there is always a jerk on site who won't like you for whatever reason, no matter what you do. And that you're going to screw up loads, because really that's how we learn and get better. And this industry is no different, although it seems that some people either just don't get this or they forget this because this industry is so very much online. We have the ability to put on just about any persona, reread our emails a bajillion times before sending it off, and we have the opportunity to sway others' opinions about ourselves to quite a bit more of an extreme because it's online rather than in person because of this. We kind of sort of forget that there is always going to be a jerk on site who isn't going to like you for whatever reason, no matter what you do, even on the online area. And we forget that we need to screw up in order to really get better and learn some more. This isn't a chat room or Facebook where you're going to get likes and where you can throw up different persona to everyone to make sure they all like you. It's still work. You're still in the workforce. You still got to deal with the jerks. And when you do deal with them, it's much easier to accept and push forward and just let it roll off your back the same way that you did in high school. You know, there's nothing you can really do about it. There's always going to be someone out there, and you're going to mess up, and that's not the end of the world. Just remember, it's still a workforce. It's not a chat room. And on to my plugin.
Absolutely.
So my plugin is import all pages, post types, products, orders, and users as XML and CSV by Smack Coders. This plugin was brought to our attention by a representative of Smack Coders named Juju. Hopefully I pronounced their name right. I enjoyed getting a chance to chat with them. This week I'm going to be reviewing their free plugin. The next show I will be reviewing their premium version of this. If you come back for our next show, you'll learn how to save a bit of money on the premium version if you decide this plugin is something worth grabbing. Admittedly, finding this particular plugin is a little harder than it should be. I blame the search engine by WordPress for it. Seems you have to be very exact when searching for any plugin, and sometimes even that does not always get you what you're looking for. In this case, the best option is to copy and paste from our show notes, then the plugin will pop up as first. Like take the title there and put it into the search engine, then you'll find it.
I find that sometimes if you add the developer's name to the title, then it pops up.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've had to do. Well, the plugin that I found here when I went to install it in my WordPress, I couldn't find it after I'd found it on the WordPress website. And so I added the coder name and poof, there it was.
Okay, that's a good trick to know.
Yeah. Yeah, the WordPress search sucks.
It really does. All right, so once I installed and activated this, what it does is it takes you directly to the plugin's dashboard, which is actually quite helpful. I like it when plugins do that. You'll find the dashboard for the plugin in your left-hand menu, labeled as Ultimate CSV Importer Free. Now, the first area of the dashboard you're brought to is the Manage Add-ons options, which confused me a little at first because I have tested out plugins where the plugin won't run unless you add all of these other add-ons. Luckily, that isn't the way this plugin is. It just has the add-ons there, which does make it easier to do all the things you want to do with this plugin, but it will run without the add-ons. So that's a good thing. I ran the plugin without them first, and then I added them one by one. And I realized that as I added these add-ons, more options became available. So you can still do most things without these add-ons. Excuse me. But you can't do them all. Like the exporting, you have to have the add-on for the exporting. And the WooCommerce, you have to have the add-on for that. But the importing, you can definitely do. So once you're on the regular dashboard, you'll see a lot of options. Along the very top, there are tabs that say Dashboard, Import, Manager, Export, Settings, Add-ons, and Support. Centered below those, you'll see Simple Mode and Advanced. Of those two, you'll find yourself on Import and Advanced. So it's like a whole bunch of tabs and they flip through. It's very easy to use once you actually see it. They start you off at importing immediately because that's usually, I think that's like the main thing of this, even though there is exporting as well, the main thing is importing. And one of the cool things about this is that it actually has an FTP option where you can FTP into wherever you need to go from the inside the plugin. I've never seen that before. Very useful and works pretty well. There's another option where you can upload from an URL, from a URL. I've never done that before. That was an interesting one to try out. You can drag and drop as well. Like if you have your files open, you can just drag the files you want and drop it into the little box. That one is really easy too. So all the ways to import here are pretty awesome. Have you ever imported from a URL?
Yeah, that's just using a URL to import a file. It means it's hosted somewhere. You could put a CSV file up in your own little enclave somewhere and then import it over. Is basically how I understand it to be.
Okay. I wasn't really able to try that out because I wasn't entirely sure how it worked. I tried doing it, and it didn't work the way I tried it.
Well, what you would do is you'd create a subdirectory in a test domain or somewhere in a domain where you host your CSV file, and that actually has a URL to where you can go get the file, and usually when you hit it, it downloads. So that's
I see.
That's pretty much what this does.
Okay, cool. So there's a lot of different things here. I'm gonna just cover the rest of them quickly. There on the main dashboard area, you will see two graphs. One is importers activity and one is importer statistics. This is pretty useful, especially if there's more than one person on the site using this plugin. It'll help you understand what's going on. Log Manager records what you've done thus far with the plugin, so you don't really have to guesstimate. It's very useful to go back and see what's been imported or exported. With the export, you do need to have the add-on installed and activated, and there's just one option to export. If you don't, just one quick thing, for these add-ons, if you don't install them right away, like when they first pop up and say, do you want to add these add-ons? You have to go find the add-ons separately and download and activate them one by one manually, which can take extra time. If you click it from the pop-up that you first get, it just auto downloads and activates. So for the export, you can choose which module you want to export: posts, post taxonomies, comments, etc. You hit the next, and then you're able to give the CSV file a name. Choose your export style between CSV, XLS, XML, or JSON. You also have the option to choose the advanced filters: export data for specific period or export data by specific authors. There are more options, but those are only part of the premium version. For the settings, you have drop table, scheduled log mails, send password to user, WooCommerce custom attribute, and delete WordPress data. These all have descriptions, and some have a bit of a warning on them so that you can understand more thoroughly what you're doing before you try to do it. Database optimization is a pro feature, though we have security and performance. Here, you're able to review the minimum required PHP values and what's required to enable or disable loaders, extensions, and modules. You can't change any of this, but it is good information to look over. And then there's documentation, which is also good information to go over. I like that they make the documentation easily accessible, and that then there's also the support tab. This is another thing I really like, because a lot of premium plugins or freemium plugins will have support, but they'll only allow direct support for their paying customers. These guys allow direct support from their customers who are using their free and their premium version, which I'm quite happy about that. Overall, this is a pretty awesome plugin for bringing in stuff from another site. You can use this to transfer from one to another, use this for when you need to post to more than one site at a time like we do. The free version would do you great if you're only using the basic transferring of some files. You may want to think about the premium version for full site transfers or even large loads of data being transferred for whatever reason. You can do it with the free version, but there's a lot more options and a lot more capability with the premium version. I rate this at 4 dragons.
Very cool. Sounds like a very useful plugin to help folks out. All right. Well, then, I guess we should.
It's time to donate to WP Plugins A-Z.
So, for a donation segment, you can earn yourself a producership credit. We have 3 levels of producers that help keep the show's larder stocked to bursting. We have our freelance producers, backroom producers, and warroom producers. There are special perks for backroom and warroom producers that you can learn about on our site at WPPluginsA-Z.com. Click on Time, Treasure, or Talent Donations in our main menu to learn all the nitty-gritty details and how you can add your 2 cents. You can also go and check out our show notes. There's short descriptions here as well. Join in and be part of your own production and support the show at the same time. It's kind of a twofer here. There are loads of ways that you can use us as your tools to get out there and at the same time help us get out there too. You can check out our show notes to see all of the different options here. That includes reviews, sending in information. There's lots of stuff you can do that help both you and us. And we do have something from a listener today. Amber and John, I am wanting to plan out my website before either I build it with WordPress or I have a developer do it if I have issues. What suggestions do you have for laying it out on paper as a blueprint? Any questions I should make sure to answer? Thanks for the help, James.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, you got anything before I dive in?
I think the main questions that you want to make sure you have answered are all questions that are mainly for you. You want to be able to tell the developer what to do rather than have questions about what the developer. I can't think of the way to explain it.
Okay. Well, if you're going to write it out on paper, first thing you want to do, 1, do you have a company logo? That's always my number 1 thing. Do you have a company logo? If not, then it's going to be text. Color scheme and company logo are number 1 and 2. Then, what kind of site is it? Is it going to be a e-commerce site, membership site? Is it going to be a blogging site? Is it going to be what's those pieces of paper they hand out? A pamphlet site? It's going to be a pamphlet site. What kind of website is it going to be? What is the message you're trying to produce for your website? What do you want people to do? That's going to determine, from that point forward, it's going to determine what plugins, what themes, what else is done to the website, what content is brought in, how the content's brought together. You might want to figure out your primary menuing system that you have going into it. The primary menus of, home, about, contact. Those are the 3 primary pages that virtually every site has. And then just figure it out through there. I mean, content comes in on its own later, but you want to have some sort of basic plan and knowledge. The biggest thing is find out what kind of website are you building. Is it going to be a pamphlet website where it's only going to be telling people about your business? Basically, you have 3 basic pages then. Is it going to be a membership site where you're going to sell something or sell some sort of course or other thing that is membership worthy? Is it going to be an e-commerce store where you have tens of hundreds or thousands of products to sell? Or is it just going to be a blogging site where you're going to write about, snowy winter days and all that wonderful stuff? So figure that out before you go any further. Once you get that, then it's easy enough for the developer to help guide you through the rest of the mess.
See, you're so much better at answering questions. You've got all this experience answering questions, though. So.
Well, I've got 1 or 2 weeks of experience here.
Yeah, I know I have this information in my head, but I have to sit there for hours and hours writing and rewriting stuff in order to actually get it out in such a way that people understand the thoughts that are in my brain.
Oh, well, I've had more practice getting the thoughts out of my brain to present to people. A good 15 years of this and tons and dozens of presentations.
So another 10 or another 12 years, and I should hopefully be at least somewhere close to where you are right now.
Maybe you could always shortcut it the way I did. I mean, I started creating classes on how to use WordPress, and then I took Toastmasters and learned how to give speeches, and then I learned how to. Then I started giving presentations, WordPress meetups where I'd give presentations. My first ones, oh God, I wish I had a recording of the first time I presented at WordCamp. God, was that I thought I was prepared until I got up there and started trying to talk.
Yeah.
So it takes time, practice, and preparation is what it takes. But yeah.
Well, James, hopefully that helped.
Yep. Hey, Hemdian.
Always good to see Hemdian. I'm glad you were able to make it.
You may have missed something, Hemdian. Hard to say. All right. Well, there's your answer, James. Hope it helps you out.
We have some miscellaneous announcements from us and our producers. If anyone out there has an announcement like a meetup, or if they'd like to announce that they're going to be on stage at WordCamp or something, let us know and we'll add it in here. Currently, what we have here is the next 5 WordCamps planned for this month around the world. WordCamp Verona, November 17th to 18th. WordCamp Hong Kong, November 18th. WordCamp Islamabad in Pakistan, November 25th to 26th. WordCamp in India, because I can't pronounce those names very easily. On December 2nd. Udaipur, Rajasthan, India. I butchered that, I'm sure of it. Oh. If you'd like to see the entire list, you can follow the link here in the show notes. You follow the link, then click on More WordCamps right below the list of the current 5 WordCamps. If you're interested in finding a WordPress meetup somewhere around the world, you can go check out the places at a link we have in the show notes. Or if you're in Victoria, BC, we also have the link for the meetups here. Keep checking back every week, see what else we've managed to find to stick in here. Or to see if any of our producers are going to be on a WordCamp stage. We do have addresses that you can reach us at. We have a brick and mortar address and virtual addresses too. You'll find those here in our show notes. Today's plugins we covered were...
I covered up Just Disable It by Zach Scott, where you can disable WordPress features easily, very easy to use, and allows you to turn off specific menus for plugins. And I gave it a 5-dragon rating.
I got caught in a yawn, sorry. And I covered import all pages, post types, products, orders, and users in XML and CSV by Smack Coders. Import or export as CSV or XML. Easy to use with drag and drop options. Grab your posts, pages, media, and your taxonomies. I rated it at 4 dragons.
Cool. Alrighty.
It's question and answer time with John and Amber.
If anyone out there has any questions they'd like to have asked here on the show, send them in to me at amber@wppro.ca. We'll see if we can stump my dad. So first question, when shopping for a password program, what features are you looking for?
You're looking for a password program. You mean the kind that you have that holds all your myriad of passwords that makes it easy for you to do your job?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You want a company that isn't under attack and hasn't been hacked, like LastPass.
And how do you find out about that?
Oh, you can search the internet to find that out. I don't know. They're all the password programs are pretty much the same. So basically, it boils down to, you know, how trustworthy you feel the company is and what it's going to cost you per month or per year for the program. There's really not much else to it because they're all pretty much the same. I mean, if you're really risky, you could always just use the password program that's built into every browser.
Yeah, it's not a good idea.
So there's really not. Some of them have different features to them, but mostly the only real feature I use in mine is the password generation tool. You know, that's the only other feature I use besides the saving of my passwords. You know, I guess all of them have where they connect to your phone. They have an app for your phone so you can access your passwords on your phone now. You know, all of them have, you know, ways to get to them from different internets. All of them have temporary credentials. Many of them have the ability to email a password or email credentials to somebody without giving them access to those credentials. I think LastPass in particular has that feature. It's like, you know, oh, do you need the password? I can email you the credentials to it, and you can email them the credentials, and they don't get to see the credentials, but they can use that credential to access whatever you've given them access to. So, you know, some of those are useful, but not something I use. But I like a good basic password program that helps protect the passwords, makes it easy. Oh, make it so they're exportable, but all of them have it so they're exportable, so you can print out a printed copy and stuff it in your fireproof safe if you want. You know.
Hendian said, wouldn't they all be under attack? Whether or not they succumb to it is a separate issue. I tend to avoid them.
Yes, well, all depends on who you are, and probably all of them are under attack regularly, but yeah, there's only been a couple of them that have succumbed to it.
Okay, so next question.
Everybody's under attack. If you're on the internet, you're under attack. Let's just face it. If you're on the internet, you're under attack.
That's true. How is a password program more secure than allowing the browser to save the information for you? What securities are the programs using that a browser is not?
One that the browser uses is the browser stores it in a pure text format, and anyone who gains access to your computer can gain and access that data. The password program often requires logins to get in and get the information. You know, requires a master password to access it. So that's the biggest problem or biggest difference in them. You know. And browsers being constantly under attack, you know, the data is stored in the browser configuration somewhere. You can actually go through the files and find the file that it's stored at in the browser. I did that once. So, you know, that's the biggest thing that I see is the difference in them. The other, you know, the programs are using additional security levels, and the programs store the stuff in encrypted format.
Okay. I have 2 more questions for after the credits.
All right. Well, let's roll out the credits. For those of you listening to the download, make sure you go check out the YouTubes and get the rest of this, which is way more entertaining sometimes, because I don't know, it is. We'll let our girl take us on out.
Reminders for the show. All show notes can be found at WPPlugins A-Z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A-Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by developers because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to WPPluginsA-Z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show at Stitcher Radio, Google Play, and in the iTunes Store. You can also leave us a review on our Facebook page using wppluginsa-z.com/Facebook. You can also watch the show live on YouTube, check out the screencasts and training videos, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. Follow the show on Twitter at WP Plugins A-Z. John can also be reached at his website, johnoverall.com, or email him directly, john@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the show. This show is copyright by johnoverall.com. So until next time, have yourselves a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be out there on the globe today.
All right. So the next question I have here is, what can tip you off that a password program you are looking at is actually not all that great of an investment?
I honestly have no idea.
No?
No, maybe you finally found something to stump me. Because
Excellent.
I've never thought that much about it. I've had the same password program for, oh my God, 2006 was when they came on the market.
That was 17 years ago.
Yeah, it was when I had my computer store.
Wow.
RoboForm started in somewhere in early 2000, and I liked them. I liked the way they managed everything, and they've grown and advanced beautifully over the years, and their price has not gone up that high. They're still quite affordable on an annual basis for it. And so it's a really good program. So I've never thought about any others. People tried to talk to me in the last pass, and I looked at it and went, yeah, no, I have to convert all my stuff, re-import, learn a new program. No, I can't. Not going to bother. So there's nothing I can think of that would tip you off, aside from looking up the reports on the internet of what people have had to say about it. Whether see if it's been hacked, see if that's been a problem with it in its past. How many times it's been hacked. Really, there's not much I can think of that would be a problem for it, or a big giant red flag, aside from the fact that it might have been hacked.
All right.
Well, there's one. Hemdian's got it. If your various accounts get compromised, it wasn't a good value. How's that?
I'm trying to think of ways to keep people from buying the not so great ones.
Yeah, well, I don't know which ones are not so great, because I've been so happy with the one I have, and I've just never.
Yeah, me too. I really like RoboForm.
I've never thought about changing, and they've added features to it over the years, but they haven't overdone it. And one nice thing they haven't done is they haven't done what many of these idiots do. Is like, you know what? We need a brand new fucking interface. So at least they haven't done that, where it's like, we're going to improve your customer experience by changing the whole interface, and you have to spend 6 hours relearning how to use the goddamn program.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I hate most about many of these companies. You know what? We think we should change this. We're going to improve your customer experience. Yeah.
All right. My last question here is it a good practice to have a locally saved password list, or should you keep it entirely on your cloud?
It should always have a locally saved one, and you should have a backup of the backup of the backup of the backup of the backup.
So print it out.
Every once in a while, I actually do print mine out, and I store it in a safe place where it can't be gotten too easily. You should always have backups. I mean, what happens if the cloud goes down or something else? It's like, never trust the cloud. Remember, folks, the cloud is just somebody else's computer. That's really all the cloud is. It's somebody else's computer. So
very true.
Always have a backup of it. Have a local backup of your files. Have every once in a while print it out if you've got tons of passwords. You might go through a lot of paper to print them out, but still, always do that. Print it and review it. But yeah, so it's always good practice to have a locally saved copy in multiple formats. Bing, 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 bing. You're getting binged.
Yes, because my laptop is about to die.
Oh, why isn't it plugged in?
It is plugged in, but this is not its original plug, and it can't continuously read it while it's being used.
Oh, well, that's a drag. All right.
Yes,
Well,
it's driving me a little nuts.
all right. Well, I think that pretty much wraps us all up, folks. A little bit of music to carry us on out. Let's do it.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still.
Oh, we're going to stop that and answer this thing for him being popped up. If you have a local password list, make sure your next of kin have access and can understand it. One of the issues I had to deal with when my dad passed a few years ago. Yes, very
absolutely.
important. I know that one firsthand myself too. And it was something that at one point when I had my computer store, I had to deal with a couple of times. And that was in the beginning of passwords. I had to deal with, oh, I got this computer. My dad passed away or my brother passed away and I can't get into it and blah, blah, blah. And I can't get to the passwords. And it's like, okay, well, I had to deal with it recently when my brother passed away. Fortunately, I knew his master password for everything because he'd been sharing information with me for years. But if I hadn't had his master password, I would have been screwed. So you got to have that information, folks. Put that into your will if you do, or put it with your will somewhere. Make it easy for them to understand it. Make sure somebody in your family has some technical knowledge to manage it because everything is online nowadays. Everything. That was important. Okay, back to our music to close us on out. Thanks, Hamdian. That was a good tip.
These are the days of thunder.
So this person is gone.
We're gonna make
We're on our own, folks. I got to carry the show.
A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. Feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread. We're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
And that's all we got for you, folks. Take care now. Bye-bye.